The mop bucket sat abandoned in the corridor of Naval Air Station Oceana, its grimy water reflecting the fluorescent lights above. Staff Sergeant Kayla Wrench Voss pushed it aside with her boot, the metal handle clattering against the wall like a broken promise. 3 months since her medical discharge from active flight status. 3 months of watching others climb into cockpits, while she cleaned the very hangars where F-18 Super Hornets and F-22 Raptors sat like caged predators, waiting for pilots worthy enough to unleash their fury. The base hummed with pre-mission tension this Tuesday morning. Voss could feel it in the way officers walked faster through the corridors, their voices dropping to urgent whispers when they passed classified briefing rooms. Something big was brewing. Something that made even the seasoned pilots check their gear twice and linger longer at the chapel. "Hey, Wrench," Staff Sergeant Martinez called from the duty desk, his voice carrying that particular blend of pity and casual cruelty that had become Voss's soundtrack. "Admiral's office needs a deep clean before the VIP briefing. Seems like perfect work for our grounded eagle." The other enlisted men chuckled, but their laughter felt hollow in the vast hangar space. Voss picked up her supplies without response. Her calloused hands, once steady enough to thread a Sidewinder missile through a needle's eye at Mach 2, now gripped industrial cleaning spray and microfiber cloths. The irony wasn't lost on her. The same hands that had earned her the Distinguished Flying Cross were now polishing the desks where other pilots planned missions she'd never fly again. As she made her way toward the Admiral's office, fragments of conversation drifted through partially open doors. Hostile airspace penetration, unknown aircraft signature, international waters violation. Each phrase was a puzzle piece, and Voss's tactical mind, sharpened by 8 years of combat missions over Syria and the South China Sea, began assembling the picture without conscious effort. The classified operations center buzzed with activity. Through the reinforced glass windows, she could see the massive situation board displaying a real-time tactical picture of the eastern Mediterranean. Red icons clustered along contested airspace boundaries. Blue triangles, friendly aircraft, were positioned in defensive postures that suggested imminent engagement. Admiral Catherine Morrison emerged from her office, her silver hair pulled back in the same regulation bun she'd worn for 3 decades of naval service. Her weathered hands held a tablet displaying satellite imagery, and her ice-blue eyes carried the weight of decisions that could reshape international relations within the hour. 20 minutes to launch, she announced to the operations center. All department heads, final briefing in 5. As the Admiral's voice echoed through the corridor, Voss felt something stir in her chest, not hope, but recognition. The kind of tactical situation that had once made her pulse quicken in anticipation rather than dread. The morning sun cast long shadows across the Virginia coastline as 8 F-22 Raptors prepared for what intelligence reports suggested might be the most complex air-to-air engagement since the Gulf War. Colonel Jake Sledgehammer Morrison, Admiral Morrison's nephew and the squadron's commanding officer, stood beside his aircraft with the casual confidence of someone who'd never questioned his place in the sky. His platinum flight suit caught the early light like armor, and his helmet bore the insignia of 43 confirmed kills. Lieutenant Colonel Rebecca Phoenix Kumar, the squadron's deputy commander, performed her pre-flight checks with methodical precision. Her dark eyes scanned every rivet and panel of her Raptor, with the intensity of someone who understood that perfection was the minimum acceptable standard when your aircraft cost $150 million, and your life depended on every system functioning flawlessly. Captain Thomas Viper Chen occupied the 3rd position in formation, his aircraft's nose art depicting a coiled serpent wrapped around a lightning bolt. At 28, he was the youngest pilot in the squadron but had earned his place through aggressive flying and an almost supernatural ability to acquire targets in contested airspace. The mission briefing had been classified at the highest levels, but the tactical picture was becoming clearer with each passing hour. 3 unidentified aircraft had violated international airspace approximately 180 nautical miles east of Cyprus, their flight characteristics suggesting advanced fifth-generation capabilities. Initial attempts at radio contact had yielded only electronic warfare signatures and deliberate jamming of NATO frequency bands. Intelligence analysts suspected the aircraft belonged to a nation-state actor conducting reconnaissance or provocation operations, but their stealth characteristics made positive identification nearly impossible. Satellite imagery showed aircraft profiles inconsistent with any known Russian or Chinese designs, suggesting either heavily modified existing platforms or entirely new technologies. Admiral Morrison's voice crackled through the base communication system, reaching every corner of the facility including the maintenance areas where Voss continued her cleaning duties. All personnel, this is Admiral Morrison. We are currently at DEFCON 3. All non-essential activities are suspended. This is not a drill. The cleaning supply closet where Voss stored her equipment was located adjacent to the primary communications center. Through the ventilation grates, she could hear radio chatter between the tower and departing aircraft. Call signs, altitude assignments, weapons configurations, information that painted a picture of escalating tensions and preparation for engagement. Raptor flight, you're cleared for takeoff, the tower controller announced. Maintain radio silence until reaching designated coordinates. Good hunting. The thunder of 8 F-119 engines spooling to full power shook the entire base structure. Voss felt the vibrations through her boots, through her bones, through the part of her soul that had once soared at 30,000 feet with nothing but skill and determination between her and eternity. Through the nearest window, she watched the Raptors climb toward the Atlantic horizon, their exhaust trails cutting geometric patterns against the morning sky like calligraphy written in condensed vapor and determination. The aircraft disappeared into the distance, leaving behind only the gradually fatting rumble of their engines and the unsettling silence that follows when warriors depart for battle. Voss returned to her duties, but her mind remained focused on the tactical situation developing somewhere over the Mediterranean Sea. 200 miles southeast of Cyprus, the 8 F-22 Raptors maintained formation at Angels 35, their advanced radar systems painting a three-dimensional picture of the surrounding airspace. Colonel Morrison's voice cut through the radio static with the authority of someone accustomed to command. Raptor 1 to all flights. Target bearing 090, range 120 nautical miles. Maintain passive sensors until further notice. The unknown aircraft appeared on their displays as ghostly radar returns, their signatures flickering in and out of detection like mirages in the electronic spectrum. Whatever technology they employed was sophisticated enough to challenge even the Raptor's advanced APG-77 radar system, creating a chess match of detection and evasion at velocities approaching the sound barrier. Lieutenant Colonel Kumar's voice carried tension despite her professional composure. Raptor 2 to lead. I'm showing intermittent contacts. These signatures don't match anything in our threat library. Her fingers moved across her cockpit displays, cycling through identification modes and attempting to classify the unknown aircraft through electronic emissions analysis. Captain Chen's radar warning receiver chirped insistently, indicating that his aircraft was being painted by enemy sensors. Raptor 3 to flight. I'm being illuminated. Multiple targeting radars active. The calm in his voice belied the adrenaline surge that accompanied being locked onto by hostile fire control systems. Back at Naval Air Station Oceana, the operations center had transformed into a nerve center of controlled chaos. Technicians monitored satellite feeds, communications specialists maintained contact with the airborne formation, and intelligence analysts updated threat assessments in real time. The large tactical display showed the evolving situation as a complex dance of electronic warfare and positioning. Voss had finished cleaning the Admiral's office and was now working in the adjacent briefing room when she overheard a conversation between two intelligence officers. "The electronic signatures don't match anything we've seen before," one reported to his superior. "Flight characteristics suggest thrust-to-weight ratios exceeding anything in the Russian inventory. These aren't modified Sukhoi." The senior officer studied satellite imagery displayed on his tablet. "What about Chinese developments? The J-20 program has been advancing rapidly." His weathered face carried the expression of someone who'd spent decades interpreting threats and understanding the implications of technological advancement in military aviation. "Negative, sir. The radar cross-section is too small, and the infrared signature suggests an entirely different propulsion system. We might be looking at something completely new." The younger officer's voice carried a mixture of professional excitement and genuine concern about encountering unknown capabilities in a combat environment. Through the communication speakers, Colonel Morrison's voice provided updates from the tactical situation. "Raptor lead to base. Target aircraft maintaining position at the edge of international airspace. They're definitely aware of our presence but haven't made any aggressive moves. Recommend continuing surveillance posture." Admiral Morrison studied the tactical display with the intensity of someone who understood that the next few hours could determine whether this situation escalated into international conflict. Her decision-making process balanced diplomatic considerations with tactical reality, weighing the risks of engagement against the consequences of allowing unknown aircraft to operate freely in contested airspace. The morning light streaming through the operations center windows created stark contrasts of shadow and illumination across the faces of personnel, monitoring the developing situation. Each person understood their role in a larger strategic picture that extended far beyond the immediate tactical engagement unfolding over the Mediterranean Sea. Voss continued her assigned duties, but her attention remained focused on the radio communications and tactical discussions surrounding her. Her experience in similar situations provided context that most of the base personnel lacked, allowing her to interpret the significance of seemingly routine operational communications. The tactical situation over the Mediterranean had evolved into a complex standoff between two formations of advanced aircraft, each probing the other's capabilities while maintaining the delicate balance between surveillance and provocation. The F-22 Raptors held their position at the edge of international airspace, their sensors gathering intelligence on the unknown aircraft while avoiding actions that might trigger a shooting war. Colonel Morrison's formation flew a standard CAP pattern, maintaining visual contact with the unidentified aircraft while broadcasting on international emergency frequencies. Unknown aircraft at coordinates 35.7 north, 32.4 east. This is United States Navy flight leader. You are operating in international airspace. Identify yourself and state your intentions. The response came not through radio communication, but through electronic warfare measures. The Raptor's radar warning receivers erupted in cacophony as sophisticated jamming systems attempted to blind their sensors. The unknown aircraft were demonstrating capabilities that challenged fundamental assumptions about air superiority in contested environments. Lieutenant Colonel Kumar fought to maintain sensor contact through the electronic interference. Raptor 2 to lead. They're jamming across the entire spectrum. I'm switching to passive infrared tracking. Her aircraft's IRSD system locked onto the heat signatures of the unknown aircraft, providing targeting information despite the radar jamming. Captain Chen reported similar difficulties maintaining situational awareness. Raptor 3 to flight. My APG-77 is being spoofed, getting false returns across multiple bearing lines. The sophisticated electronic warfare environment was degrading their ability to maintain accurate tactical pictures of the engagement area. At Naval Air Station Oshina, the communication difficulties were apparent to anyone monitoring the tactical radio nets. Static and interference punctuated the pilot's transmissions, creating gaps in information that left ground controllers struggling to maintain awareness of the developing situation. Voss had moved her cleaning operations to the communications center, where her proximity to the radio equipment allowed her to hear not just the official communications, but also the technical discussions between operators attempting to maintain contact with the airborne formation. "We're losing signal clarity," reported the senior communications technician to Admiral Morrison. "The jamming is affecting our satellite communication links. We might lose contact entirely if the interference increases." His concern was evident in both his voice and the rapid adjustments he was making to communication equipment. Admiral Morrison studied the tactical display, noting the gaps in real-time information that were appearing as electronic warfare measures intensified. "How long can our pilots maintain position without direct communication support?" she asked her operations officer. "Standard doctrine calls for autonomous operation up to 30 minutes in contested electronic environments," came the reply. "After that, they'll need to either re-establish communication or return to base per engagement protocols." The weight of command decisions pressed heavily on Admiral Morrison's shoulders. Each choice carried implications that extended far beyond the immediate tactical situation, potentially affecting international relations and strategic balance in one of the world's most sensitive regions. Through the operations center speakers, Colonel Morrison's voice cut through the static with increasing urgency. "Base, this is Raptor Lead. Unknown aircraft are changing formation and increasing speed. Recommend immediate guidance on rules of engagement." The professional calm in his voice couldn't entirely mask the tension of commanding a formation facing unknown capabilities in electronically contested airspace. The unknown aircraft had begun maneuvering in patterns that suggested either preparation for engagement or testing of American response protocols. The electronic warfare environment over the Mediterranean intensified as both formations probed each other's capabilities, while maintaining the precarious balance between surveillance and combat engagement. The unknown aircraft demonstrated sophistication that challenged NATO's understanding of adversary capabilities, employing jamming techniques that seemed designed specifically to counter F-22 sensor systems. Colonel Morrison's formation maintained defensive positioning while attempting to gather intelligence on aircraft that refused to conform to established threat parameters. Their flight characteristics suggested performance capabilities that exceeded most known fifth-generation fighters, with acceleration and maneuverability that pushed the boundaries of current aerodynamic understanding. "Raptor Lead to all flights," Morrison's voice crackled through heavy static. "Unknown aircraft are maintaining formation but have increased separation. They appear to be testing our response patterns." His tactical assessment was based on decades of air combat experience, but even he had never encountered aircraft that combined such advanced stealth capabilities with apparently superior flight performance. Lieutenant Colonel Kumar's attempts to classify the unknown aircraft through electronic intelligence gathering had yielded contradictory results. Raptor 2 to lead. Electronic signatures suggest propulsion systems operating on principles I don't recognize. Infrared readings are inconsistent with conventional turbofan engines. Her background in aerospace engineering provided technical insights that complemented her tactical flying skills. Captain Chen reported visual confirmation of details that added to the mystery. Raptor 3 has visual contact. Aircraft configuration doesn't match any known design. Wing geometry and control surface arrangement suggest entirely new aerodynamic concepts. His pilot's eye for aircraft recognition was failing him for the first time in his career. The tactical situation was becoming increasingly complex as both formations maneuvered within the constraints of international law while preparing for the possibility of hostile action. The unknown aircraft maintained their position at the edge of international airspace, but demonstrated capabilities that suggested they could engage or disengage at will. At Naval Air Station Oceana, the operations center had become the focal point for intelligence analysis and tactical decision-making. Admiral Morrison coordinated with Pentagon officials, while her staff attempted to maintain situational awareness despite communication difficulties and gaps in real-time intelligence. Voss had positioned herself near the main communication console, where her cleaning duties provided cover for listening to classified conversations between the base and higher headquarters. Her understanding of tactical aviation allowed her to interpret the significance of operational reports that might seem routine to untrained observers. "Admiral," reported the Intelligence Watch officer, "satellite imagery shows additional aircraft launching from facilities in the eastern Mediterranean. We may be looking at a coordinated operation involving multiple unknown platforms." The implications of facing not just advanced individual aircraft, but an entire formation of unknown capabilities shifted the strategic calculation significantly. Admiral Morrison studied updated satellite feeds showing heat signatures of additional aircraft climbing to altitude from bases whose locations had not been previously identified. "How many total aircraft are we potentially facing?" she asked her intelligence team. "Conservative estimate puts it at 12 to 16 aircraft, ma'am, all demonstrating similar stealth characteristics and flight performance. This appears to be a deliberate demonstration of capabilities rather than routine reconnaissance." The intelligence officer's assessment carried implications that extended far beyond the immediate tactical situation. The morning sun had climbed higher, casting different shadows across the operations center as personnel adapted to the evolving crisis. Each update from the airborne formation added complexity to a situation that was already testing the limits of established engagement protocols and international law. Colonel Morrison's voice cut through the communication static with increasing urgency as the tactical situation continued to evolve. "Base, this is Raptor Lead. We now have visual confirmation of 16 unknown aircraft in loose formation. They're maintaining international airspace but demonstrating flight patterns that suggest coordinated tactical maneuvering." The scale of the situation had expanded beyond a simple reconnaissance encounter into what appeared to be a deliberate demonstration of advanced air power capabilities. The unknown aircraft were operating with the precision and coordination of a trained military formation, while employing technology that challenged fundamental assumptions about current aerospace development. Lieutenant Colonel Kumar provided additional tactical intelligence through her observations of the unknown formation. "Raptor 2 to base. These aircraft are maintaining formation discipline while operating in electronic warfare environments that should make coordination extremely difficult. They're using communication methods we can't detect or intercept." Captain Chen's radar warning receiver continued to indicate multiple targeting radars painting his aircraft, but the unknown platforms weren't demonstrating any overtly hostile actions. "Raptor 3 to flight. I'm being continuously illuminated by fire control radars, but no weapon systems appear to be active. They seem to be gathering intelligence on our capabilities." The electronic chess match between the two formations had reached a level of complexity that tested both human operators and automated systems. Each side was probing the other's capabilities while avoiding actions that might trigger escalation to active combat engagement. At Naval Air Station Oceana, the operations center had transformed into a real-time intelligence fusion center, where information from multiple sources was being compiled to create understanding of an unprecedented situation. Satellite feeds, electronic intelligence, and pilot reports were being integrated to develop tactical options for responding to unknown capabilities. Voss had completed her assigned cleaning duties in the communications area and was preparing to move to the next section when she overheard a conversation that made her pause. "2 Senior intelligence officers were discussing technical aspects of the unknown aircraft that resonated with her own experience in advanced systems evaluation. The flight characteristics suggest propulsion systems operating at efficiency levels that exceed our current theoretical models, one officer explained to his colleague. We're looking at thrust-to-weight ratios that should be impossible with conventional turbofan technology. His colleague studied technical data displayed on a secure tablet. What about alternative propulsion concepts, scramjet technology, pulse detonation engines? The conversation was exploring possibilities that challenged current understanding of aerospace propulsion physics. The infrared signatures don't match any known propulsion system, came the reply. Heat distribution patterns suggest either revolutionary thermal management or entirely different energy conversion principles. We might be observing technology that represents a generational leap in aerospace engineering. Admiral Morrison approached the intelligence team with questions that reflected both tactical immediate needs and longer-term strategic implications. "Do we have any assessment of their weapons capabilities?" she asked. "Are these reconnaissance platforms or combat aircraft?" The senior intelligence officer consulted multiple data sources before responding. "Ma'am, we're detecting weapons bay configurations similar to our own internal carriage systems, but the electronic signatures suggest ordnance types that don't match our threat library. These appear to be fully combat-capable aircraft with advanced air-to-air weapons." The tactical picture was becoming increasingly complex, as intelligence analysis revealed not just advanced aircraft but potentially revolutionary weapons systems that could reshape air combat doctrine and strategic balance of power in contested regions. Through the Operations Center speakers, Colonel Morrison's voice provided updates that reflected the growing complexity of the tactical situation. Raptor lead to base. Unknown aircraft have divided into multiple formations and are conducting what appears to be tactical maneuvering exercises. Recommend immediate guidance on engagement authority. The demonstration of advanced capabilities was becoming more pronounced, as the unknown aircraft displayed coordination and tactical sophistication that suggested extensive training and operational experience with their advanced systems. The tactical standoff over the Mediterranean had evolved into something unprecedented in modern air combat, a confrontation between known capabilities and technology that appeared to represent a generational advance in aerospace engineering. Both formations maintained their positions while conducting what amounted to a real-time evaluation of each other's systems and tactics. Colonel Morrison's F-22 Raptors found themselves in the unusual position of potentially facing superior technology for the first time since the aircraft's introduction. Their pilots, trained to dominate any air-to-air engagement, were discovering the unsettling experience of uncertainty about their technological advantage. "Raptor lead to all flights," Morrison transmitted through the continuing electronic interference. "Maintain defensive formation, but prepare for immediate engagement if hostile actions are initiated. Unknown aircraft capabilities suggest this could escalate rapidly." His tactical assessment reflected years of air combat experience combined with recognition that standard engagement protocols might be inadequate for the current situation. Lieutenant Colonel Kumar's aircraft systems continued to provide contradictory readings as she attempted to maintain situational awareness through sophisticated electronic countermeasures. Raptor 2 to lead. "My threat warning system is cycling through alerts for multiple weapons types, but target illumination patterns don't match any known fire control radar characteristics." Captain Chen reported visual observations that added to the tactical uncertainty. Raptor 3 has confirmed visual on lead unknown aircraft. Configuration appears optimized for air superiority missions, but control surface movements suggest flight envelope capabilities beyond our current aircraft. His pilot's assessment carried implications that extended beyond immediate tactical concerns. The unknown formation had begun demonstrating flight capabilities that challenged fundamental assumptions about aircraft performance limitations. Acceleration rates, turn radii, and climb performance exceeded theoretical parameters for aircraft operating within conventional aerodynamic principles. At Naval Air Station Oshana, Admiral Morrison was coordinating with Pentagon officials who were attempting to understand the strategic implications of encountering apparently superior technology in a contested operational environment. The secure communication links carried conversations that reflected both immediate tactical concerns and longer-term questions about technological parity. Voss had moved her cleaning operations to the Admiral's outer office, where her proximity to high-level conversations provided insight into decision-making processes that were shaping American responses to unprecedented circumstances. Her background in advanced systems evaluation allowed her to understand technical discussions that might be incomprehensible to most base personnel. "Admiral Morrison," came a voice through the secure communication system. "This is General Patterson at the Pentagon. We're monitoring the situation and are prepared to authorize whatever engagement rules you deem necessary. The priority is gathering intelligence on these unknown capabilities." Admiral Morrison's response reflected the weight of command decisions that could affect international relations and military balance. "General, my assessment is that we're facing technology that represents a significant advancement over current capabilities. Engagement could result in losses that we're not prepared to accept." The conversation continued with technical assessments and strategic considerations that highlighted the complexity of responding to unknown capabilities in an international environment where escalation could have consequences extending far beyond the immediate tactical situation. Through the Operations Center speakers, Colonel Morrison's voice carried increasing tension as the tactical situation continued to evolve. "Base, this is Raptor Lead. Unknown aircraft are beginning high-energy maneuvers that exceed anything we've observed in current threat aircraft. Recommend immediate evaluation of engagement options." The unknown formation was demonstrating capabilities that suggested not just advanced technology, but operational doctrines, specifically designed to counter American air superiority advantages. The electronic warfare environment over the Mediterranean had intensified to levels that were affecting not just tactical communications, but the fundamental sensor systems that modern air combat depends upon. The F-22 Raptors found their advanced avionics systems challenged by jamming techniques that seemed designed specifically to exploit weaknesses in American sensor architectures. Colonel Morrison's formation was maintaining position through traditional flight discipline and visual contact as their electronic systems struggled against sophisticated countermeasures. "Raptor Lead to all flights. Switch to backup communication protocols. Primary tactical data links are being heavily jammed." His commands reflected adaptation to electronic warfare environments that exceeded training scenarios. Lieutenant Colonel Kumar attempted to maintain tactical awareness using passive sensors and visual observation, as her primary electronic systems provided increasingly unreliable information. "Raptor 2 to lead. Electronic warfare environment is unlike anything we've trained for. These systems are specifically configured to counter our sensor architecture." Captain Chen's aircraft was experiencing targeting system difficulties that suggested the unknown aircraft possessed detailed knowledge of F-22 capabilities and vulnerabilities. "Raptor 3 to flight. Fire control systems are being spoofed with false targets. Cannot maintain reliable weapon solutions." His report indicated that the unknown aircraft weren't just employing advanced defensive measures, but were actively degrading American offensive capabilities. The tactical situation had evolved beyond simple surveillance or reconnaissance into what appeared to be a systematic evaluation of American air combat systems by an adversary possessing superior electronic warfare capabilities and detailed knowledge of F-22 operational parameters. At Naval Air Station Oshana, the communication difficulties were affecting not just tactical coordination, but intelligence-gathering efforts that were attempting to understand the nature and origin of the unknown capabilities. Technical specialists worked to maintain contact through backup systems while analyzing the sophisticated jamming techniques being employed. Admiral Morrison coordinated response efforts while dealing with communication links that were being affected by the electronic warfare measures being employed over the Mediterranean. Communications. What's our current contact reliability with the airborne formation? She asked her technical staff. Ma'am, we're maintaining intermittent contact through satellite links, but tactical data transmission is severely degraded, reported the senior communications technician. The jamming is employing techniques that suggest detailed knowledge of our communication architectures and encryption methods. Voss had positioned herself near the primary communication console, where her cleaning duties provided cover for observing the technical efforts being made to maintain contact with Colonel Morrison's formation. Her understanding of communication systems allowed her to recognize the sophistication of the electronic warfare measures being employed. The cleaning supplies she carried had become secondary to her focus on the tactical situation developing over international waters. Her experience in similar electronic warfare environments provided context that allowed her to interpret the significance of communication difficulties that were affecting operational coordination. Through the surviving communication links, Colonel Morrison's voice carried increasing urgency as the tactical situation approached critical decision points. Base, this is Raptor Lead. Electronic warfare environment is affecting flight safety systems. We may need to withdraw from the engagement area if jamming continues to intensify. The unknown aircraft were demonstrating not just advanced capabilities, but tactical doctrine that suggested preparation for engagement with American forces and detailed knowledge of operational limitations and vulnerabilities. Admiral Morrison faced decisions that balanced immediate tactical considerations against longer-term strategic implications, while dealing with incomplete information and degraded communications. The tactical situation over the Mediterranean reached a critical juncture when the unknown aircraft began demonstrating flight capabilities that exceeded not just current technology but theoretical performance parameters. The F-22 Raptors, previously unmatched in air-to-air combat, found themselves observing maneuvers that challenged fundamental understanding of aerodynamic limitations. Colonel Morrison's voice cut through the electronic interference with reports that reflected both professional amazement and tactical concern. Base, this is Raptor Lead. Unknown aircraft are executing maneuvers that should be impossible within conventional flight envelopes. Instantaneous turn rates and acceleration that exceed physiological limits for human pilots. Lieutenant Colonel Kumar provided technical observations that added to the unprecedented nature of the encounter. Raptor 2 to base. Lead unknown aircraft just executed a 90-degree direction change while maintaining supersonic velocity. G-forces should have exceeded human tolerance by factor of 3. Her background in aerospace engineering provided context for maneuvers that defied conventional understanding. Captain Chen's visual observations confirmed flight characteristics that challenged basic assumptions about aircraft design and operational limitations. Raptor 3 has visual confirmation. Unknown aircraft maintaining formation during maneuvers that should cause structural failure in conventional airframes. Wing loading and stress factors beyond current engineering capabilities. The demonstration of impossible flight characteristics suggested either revolutionary technological advancement or operational principles that operated outside conventional physics. The tactical implications were staggering for pilots trained to rely on performance advantages that were suddenly meaningless. At Naval Air Station Oshina, the reports from the airborne formation were creating consternation among technical specialists and intelligence analysts who were struggling to understand observed capabilities that contradicted established aeronautical engineering principles. The operations center had become a focal point for analysis of information that challenged fundamental assumptions. Voss had moved closer to the primary intelligence stations, where analysts were attempting to correlate pilot reports with electronic intelligence and satellite observations. Her technical background allowed her to understand discussions that were exploring possibilities beyond conventional aerospace technology. These performance characteristics suggest propulsion systems operating on principles we don't understand, reported the senior technical intelligence officer to Admiral Morrison. Acceleration rates and maneuvering capabilities that exceed anything achievable with chemical propulsion or conventional aerodynamic control surfaces. Admiral Morrison studied technical data that challenged her decades of experience with advanced military aviation. Are we looking at some form of unconventional propulsion, electric systems, something beyond current technology? Her questions reflected attempts to understand observed capabilities within established scientific frameworks. The intelligence team consulted classified technical databases while attempting to find precedents for the observed flight characteristics. Ma'am, we're not finding any theoretical basis for the observed performance within conventional aerospace engineering. Either we're missing something fundamental, or these aircraft represent technology that operates outside current scientific understanding. Through the communication system, Colonel Morrison's reports continued to describe tactical situation that was evolving beyond conventional air combat parameters. Raptor lead to base. Unknown aircraft are demonstrating coordinated maneuvering that suggests either autonomous control systems or pilot protection technology that negates G-force limitations. The tactical demonstration was revealing capabilities that raised questions not just about technological advancement, but about the fundamental nature of the aircraft and their operational principles. Admiral Morrison faced decisions about how to respond to capabilities that exceeded American technological understanding, while maintaining both tactical effectiveness and international legal obligations in increasingly complex circumstances. The unprecedented nature of the encounter was becoming apparent to everyone monitoring the situation, as reports described aircraft performance that challenged basic assumptions about the possible and impossible in aviation technology. As the tactical situation evolved beyond conventional parameters, an unexpected voice cut through the controlled chaos of the operations center. Staff Sergeant Kayla Voss approached Admiral Morrison's position with the deliberate confidence of someone who had recognized patterns that others had missed. "Admiral Morrison, ma'am," Voss said, her cleaning supplies forgotten as she addressed the senior officer. "I've been monitoring the tactical reports, and I believe I can provide insight into what your pilots are encountering." Her voice carried the authority of experience despite her current duty assignment. Admiral Morrison turned toward Voss with the sharp attention of someone accustomed to evaluating information from unexpected sources. "Staff Sergeant, you're supposed to be on cleaning duty. What possible insight could you provide into an active tactical situation?" Her tone carried professional skepticism, but also recognition that unconventional circumstances might require unconventional sources of information. Voss straightened to attention while maintaining eye contact with the Admiral. "Ma'am, prior to my medical discharge from flight status, I was the test pilot for the Advanced Tactical Fighter Evaluation Program. Call sign, Wrench. I've logged over 2,000 hours in experimental aircraft with flight characteristics similar to what your pilots are reporting." The operations center fell silent as personnel recognized the potential significance of Voss's background and experience. Her reputation as a test pilot had been legendary before her medical grounding, but most base personnel knew her only as the former pilot assigned to janitorial duties. Admiral Morrison's expression shifted from skepticism to focused attention as she recognized both the name and the implications. Staff Sergeant Voss, you're the pilot who tested the prototype systems that became integrated into current F-22 capabilities. Her question reflected recognition of Voss's technical expertise and operational experience. Yes, ma'am. I've encountered aircraft with performance characteristics that exceed conventional limitations, and I've developed tactical responses to unconventional flight capabilities. Voss's response carried confidence based on experience with aircraft that had challenged established understanding of flight performance. The intelligence officers surrounding Admiral Morrison recognized the potential value of Voss's experience in understanding aircraft that operated outside conventional parameters. Her background in experimental flight testing provided unique perspective on capabilities that were confusing current tactical analysis. Through the communication system, Colonel Morrison's voice continued to report tactical developments that were approaching critical decision points. Base, this is Raptor Lead. Unknown aircraft are maintaining surveillance posture, but demonstrating capabilities that suggest they could engage or disengage at will. Request immediate guidance on response options. Admiral Morrison faced the unusual decision of considering tactical advice from a grounded pilot whose experience might be uniquely relevant to the unprecedented situation developing over international waters. The conventional command structure was proving inadequate for circumstances that demanded unconventional solutions and expertise. Voss stood at attention while her mind processed the tactical information she had been monitoring, formulating assessments based on experience with aircraft that had challenged her understanding of possible flight performance during her years as a test pilot. The Operations Center awaited Admiral Morrison's decision about whether to consider input from someone whose current duty assignment contradicted her previous expertise and experience with aircraft that operated beyond conventional limitations. The weight of command decisions pressed heavily on Admiral Morrison as she faced circumstances that required evaluation of all available expertise, regardless of current duty assignments or conventional command protocols. Admiral Morrison made a command decision that reflected both tactical necessity and recognition of expertise regardless of current duty assignment. Staff Sergeant Voss, brief me on your assessment of the tactical situation. Your experience with unconventional aircraft capabilities may provide insight that conventional analysis has missed. Her authorization carried the weight of command authority exercised under extraordinary circumstances. Voss approached the tactical display with the confidence of someone returning to familiar territory after forced absence. Ma'am, based on the pilot reports and electronic intelligence, these aircraft are demonstrating flight characteristics consistent with propulsion systems that I encountered during classified test programs between 2018 and 2021. Her assessment was delivered with professional precision despite the unusual circumstances. The Operations Center personnel focused their attention on Voss's analysis as she studied the tactical display showing the positions and reported capabilities of the unknown aircraft. Her understanding of advanced flight systems provided context that conventional intelligence analysis had been unable to develop. The instantaneous direction changes and acceleration rates suggest either inertial dampening technology or propulsion systems that operate independently of conventional reaction principles. Voss continued. During test programs, I encountered similar capabilities in aircraft that employed electromagnetic field manipulation for both propulsion and maneuvering control. Admiral Morrison's questions reflected both tactical immediate needs and strategic understanding of technological implications. What tactical advantages do such capabilities provide, and how should our pilots respond to aircraft with such performance characteristics? Her queries focused on actionable intelligence that could affect the immediate situation. Voss's response drew from experience with aircraft that had challenged conventional tactical doctrine during her test pilot career. Ma'am, conventional air combat maneuvering becomes ineffective against aircraft that can violate basic principles of energy management and angular momentum. Standard engagement tactics assume performance limitations that these aircraft appear to exceed. The intelligence team began correlating Voss's technical assessment with classified research programs that had been developing advanced propulsion concepts and unconventional flight control systems. Her experience provided missing context for capabilities that had seemed impossible within conventional understanding. Through the communication system, Colonel Morrison reported tactical developments that reflected increasing complexity in the engagement parameters. Raptor lead to base. Unknown aircraft have begun demonstration of what appears to be coordinated tactical maneuvering involving impossible energy management. Request guidance on engagement doctrine for unconventional capabilities. Voss addressed the tactical display while formulating recommendations based on her experience with aircraft that had operated beyond conventional flight envelopes. Admiral, I recommend authorizing your pilots to abandon standard engagement protocols and adopt experimental tactics that I developed during test programs with similar aircraft. The Operations Center faced the unusual situation of considering tactical recommendations from a grounded pilot whose experience with unconventional aircraft might provide the only available expertise relevant to the current crisis situation. Admiral Morrison weighed the unconventional nature of the recommendation against the unprecedented characteristics of the tactical situation that was developing over international waters. Command decisions required evaluation of all available expertise regardless of source or conventional protocol. The tactical situation demanded immediate decisions based on incomplete information and capabilities that challenged fundamental assumptions about air combat doctrine and technological possibilities in modern warfare environments. Voss's unique experience with aircraft that operated beyond conventional limitations provided potential insight into tactical responses that standard military doctrine had not anticipated or prepared for in current operational planning. Admiral Morrison's authorization represented recognition that extraordinary circumstances demanded consideration of expertise from unconventional sources, when conventional analysis proved inadequate for understanding unprecedented capabilities and tactical situations. The weight of tactical command decisions intensified as Admiral Morrison recognized that the success of the current mission might depend on expertise that existed outside conventional command structures and operational protocols. Her decision to authorize Voss's involvement reflected both tactical necessity and leadership flexibility under extraordinary circumstances. Staff Sergeant Voss, Admiral Morrison commanded, I'm authorizing you to